Good morning, everybody. We in the early morning hours. The Our Father is here. You know, this is one of the saddest stories that I had to put up here. But the reality of it all is it all has to be explained. What do you do when you're a mother that love your child, but you're in danger because of your child? What do you do when your two kids, as these two young, beautiful twins here, the Whitehead Twins, put your life in danger? What do you do when your beautiful children allow his or her friends to physically attack you, verbally attack you? What do you do when your beautiful kids can attack you themselves? It is truly your choice. If your kids put you in danger of being hurt, killed, embarrassed, put to shame by themselves, their friends, or anybody, there's only one thing to do: get the hell away from them. There is no Jesus Christ in this situation. It's the devil. Because we can reverse it. Instead of your kids getting their friends or even themselves to harm you, can your children harm their friends' parents? No. Your children's friends will not allow your children to harm their parents, but your children will allow their friends or even themselves to harm you. Such is the case here. You are about to enter a hell zone of these two beautiful young twins, Jasmaya and Tasmaya Whitehead, and their mother Nikki. This is like a house of horror story that you wouldn't even know existed. Right under your nose, right before your eyes. This story begins in Georgia, where in prison, Nikki Whitehead was born in prison by her mother, who was in jail for drug charges. And she was raised by her grandmother. Nikki grew up living the wild life. This is her best friend here. Nikki grew up living the wild life, partying and everything, like her mother. And then at the age of 17, she too became pregnant herself, where she had two twins, two beautiful twins. And here they go, Jazz and Taz. And she didn't raise her kids, but she wanted to be a perfect mom and give her daughters the best possible life. She simply wasn't ready to raise them yet. And on that note, when she did decide to raise them, she became a strict mom. She wanted her kids to live far from the life that she lived growing up as a teenager herself. But eventually, her two daughters wasn't trying to hear that. Her two daughters had free minds, free spirits, and they didn't listen to her. And Nikki had more of a don't do as I did, do as I say type way of raising her kids when she finally did take them on her own. But the kids took it different, as you're about to find out, because first she wasn't there. Now she suddenly wanted them to do what they was told. They simply did not understand their mother's point of view.
It was difficult. He was afraid that the girls would choose the dangerous path that she once chose. Tough crowds, teenage pregnancies. When the girls started giving off hints of such a lifestyle, Nikki was very strictly against it.
Early in their teens, Nikki took Jazz's phone where she was breaking rules, and she was checking their phones. And when she took Jazz's phone, the two twins began an all-out war with their mother, and the mother really didn't see what was coming, what was happening. Soon, you hear a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. Then they get into fights. The cops is called. They'll be taking the juvenile. All kind of stuff happen. But you haven't seen nothing yet between these two twins who bonded together against the mother, and a mother who really didn't see it coming. House discontent. The two twins who was used to growing up around their grandmother and their great grandmother is now living with their mom regularly. She had a boyfriend who became their stepdad, but surprisingly they accepted the stepfather. He took care of them. He bought clothes for them, gave them money, stuff like that. But they was growing older. So as they was growing older, they was starting to change now. Their lifestyles, their hormones, everything about these young girls was starting to change. One night, Jazz sneaks out the house to be with a boy. Nikki calls the cops. Nikki calls the cops on her, and what started off as arguments now became regular fistfights. Cops being called regularly. Trips to juvenile hall. But there was always hope and a thought that they could reconcile and get to the bottom of it. They was wrong. Once the cop came to the house, they tried to explain to the cop that they absolutely had to go back and stay with their grandmother and their great grandmother. But the cop explained to them that wasn't going to happen, and this was their new home now. But while the cop was talking to them, the cop had a bad feeling.
The girl seemed very innocent, very sweet, but the look in Nikki's face, she was fearful of those children. She knew that they worked together.
So, once police officer Myra Scruggs left the house, she got in the car and barely drove away. She heard somebody screaming. It was the mother, Nikki. So she immediately got out the car and went back into the house. The two daughters was on top of her beating her. The daughters told the cops that the mother attacked her, but the mother had scratches on her, hair was pulled up, and neither twin had a mark on them. Huh. Next thing you know, Jazz skips a whole week from school. She's with her 19-year-old boyfriend. Nikki finds out, picks her up, takes her phone from her. Nikki's driving her back to the house, yelling at her in the car. Jazz opens up the door while the car is moving and jumps out the car. So she'll rather put herself in total danger than to be with her mother. Her mother just didn't realize how much she hated her. It's about to hit the fan. Not to mention, Nikki, a couple days after that, Nikki calls the cops. When the cops come to the house, Nikki barricaded herself in the room out of fear for her 2 kids. It's really getting ready to hit the fan. So the kids eventually get their wish and go back to their grandmother's house. But the great grandmother wasn't happy at all with that. She was 79 years old. She trying to live her own life. She wound up calling the cops on the 2 twins herself, who was wild as ever, stealing out the house. She wound up bolting herself in the room. When the kids come home, she bolts herself in the room. So the great grandmother was just as scared as the mother for her life. January 13th, cops making a routine check in the hood, minding their own business. All of a sudden, one of the twins come running out the house. Help me! You gotta come in! You gotta come in! The cops go in the house. She says somebody killed her mom. Here we go. The cops go in the house and they make the gruesome discovery.
Officers found a horrific scene. There was blood in several rooms, a lot of it.
The mother been stabbed over 80 times. So this mother that made it her business to take care of her 2 kids, her 2 twins, is now a casualty. Was it because of the twins? Or was it somebody else who did it? We are going to find out more about this story, part 2, about the Whitehead Twins.